happened to stumble across this Nintendo 64 game. It's The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask.
The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask was originally released April 27, 2000 in Japan, October 26, 2000 in North America, and November 17, 2000 in Europe. It was also re-released for Nintendo GameCube with the Legend of Zelda Collector's Edition disc, which has featured not only Majora's Mask, but all of the Zelda games released before the Wind Waker, and was also re-released on the Wii Virtual Console.
Majora's Mask is one of the few games that require the players to buy an accessory called Expansion Pack, which is a 4 MB RAM memory expansion for the Nintendo 64. It expands the system's 4 MB of RAM memory to 8 MB of RAM memory. These additional megabytes are required in order for this game to be played, otherwise nothing happens. But back then you could find the Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask Collector's Edition, which has the expansion pack included with the game, so players wouldn't have to buy a separate expansion pack.
What's the expansion pack used for?
Well, the expansion pack can be used in many different ways, but in this game it is used to have enhanced graphics. Yet if you have enough time and compare the graphics to Majora's Mask, you will easily see the difference.
But why does it need an expansion pack anyway? I mean, Ocarina of Time was pretty much the same game as this, and it didn't need a freaking expansion pack.
The whole reason for this is because the game was originally meant to be released for Nintendo 64 DD, but Nintendo thought it would be a good idea to release as a regular game instead of being an expansion game. It needs an expansion pack because the Nintendo 64 DD has extra RAM memory, but now that the game is not an expansion game, it needs an expansion pack in order to be played. It is basically the same thing as with The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time Master Quest, and this one was cancelled for the Nintendo 64 DD, but it was released for Nintendo GameCube.
In Majora's Mask, you have to prevent the falling of the moon towards the earth, and this game doesn't take place in Hyrule, it takes place in Termina.
This game is not as hard as many other Zelda games because there's only 4 dungeons, while in other Zelda games there's 8 or more dungeons. In this game you can get masks from the bosses you beat, and the masks can give you different powers.
Reminds me of Mega Man. The most important masks in this game are the Deku Mask, the Goron Mask, and the Zora Mask. With the Deku Mask you can fly. With the Zora Mask you can dive and walk on the water, without the need of breathing air. This is similar to the Blue Tunic on Ocarina of Time because it has the same properties.
And with the Goron Mask you can roll around, literally, because you can roll like a rock, and it is very fast, so trips to far places will never be boring again.
I can imagine people selling Goron Masks on TV. That would be pretty funny to watch. Actually, Goron Masks would be pretty useful in real life, except they would make people sick, I guess.
Well, I can only say that Gorons have iron stomach, or maybe rock stomach, because that's what Gorons are made of, rocks.
What is the Majora's Mask?
The Majora's Mask is the only mask that you won't get to wear, because it becomes the final boss of the game. The battle takes place on the moon. Strangely, there's a tree on the moon. Well, maybe that's not the moon, maybe that's heaven.
The battle against this boss is a bit more harder than the battles against the other bosses because his pattern is quite unpredictable. And one cool thing that this boss can do is that it can shoot lasers from its eyes. It kind of reminds me of Nana from Luigi's Mansion.
The game is a bit hard, it has some good music and sound effects. And the gameplay is a bit repetitive because you have to keep going back in time in order to make the game restart.
It doesn't actually restart because you won't lose any progress, but you do have to go to the bank to deposit your money. Because if you go back in time without depositing it, you're gonna lose it all as if you never had it.
This thing about going back in time frequently is not a serious problem because you have to go back in time to save your game. And it is also important to get the 3 days back to beat another boss.
Well, that's it for today's game.
Merry Christmas!
What the hell is going on?
I think it's an earthquake.
It's the moon! It's heading toward the earth!
Is it the end of the world with living?
Nah, don't be silly, someone can explain why the